the FCTA on its own can collect on its behalf, can collect by itself. Again, there are people who had land or who allocated land in the area councils. And you know that by the FCT Act, all land belongs to the FCT. No area council has power to allocate land to you and issue you any CFO. And in order to remedy some of these anomalies, we set up a task force to say, listen, we don't want to go back to cause some problems for those that were allocated land and given certificate by the area councils. And so what we will do, we will say, okay, let's forget about the allocation, but we can now properly document it by issuing you CFOs. And therefore, it now serves. And so the task force came up that, look, because of what we are trying to introduce now, which we have gotten the verbal approval of Mr. President, we're just merely waiting for the official, that there are a lot of discrepancies, a lot of pruning of CFOs. And so we have come up with an idea that every allottee who seeks for CFO, who applied for CFO, that must supply his NIN number. That's national identity.
Hello guys, welcome to this space, welcome to Legal Connect, welcome to a brand new episode of Legal Connect, welcome to yet another week. It has been a couple of weeks since the last episode, and since then a lot has happened. But before we dive into the nitty-gritty of today's episode, what I will encourage my viewers and listeners to do, if you haven't done it already, is to smash that subscribe button and hit the notification bell to be notified as when materials are posted on this space. Yes, welcome to a brand new episode. This is the space where we discuss legal issues that are affecting Nigerians and also affecting Nigeria as a country. The last episode we were talking about the fact that the minister of the FCT, that is Minister Nelson Wike, may or could be heading to prison for contempt of court. However, the office of the minister or the legal department of the FCT has categorically refute such media claims, and they have instead said that there is no contempt of courts by the minister, and that the substantive matter which would have led to the contempt of court is still ongoing, and it is being reallocated to a new judge. You can interpret what that means. It means that there was a decision that is being reallocated. Whether or not there was contempt of court is for us to hear of subsequently. That is the interesting part of Nigeria. I've always told you that Nigeria is a box office country. In every given space of time, you hear bizarre stories, you hear bizarre issues. But in this time, the matter that was reported on the media, that the minister of the FCT, Minister Nelson Wike, has or is being tried for contempt of court is false, according to the legal department of the FCT, and that the substantive matter is being reassigned or reallocated to a new judge. So keep this space open. We will hear more development in the future. But one thing that would have been clear, there is no way a court will find Minister Wike in contempt. The way it was reported that he's being tried, not that he's been tried. He's being tried. So the trial might take a week, might take a year, might take 10 years. But we'll continue to monitor the space and report accordingly. Since the last episode, there has been a lot of stories that I would have loved to talk about. The fact that the police officer in Lagos that killed a learned colleague, a barrister to be precise, has been sentenced to death by hanging. That is a news. One thing that baffles me, although I console with the family of the late barrister, is the speed at which this matter has been concluded when we have other issues at court that have been lingering on for years, but this matter has been resolved within the last 12 months. Although it is as a result of the high profile person that and also the industry that the person works in. However, if our legal system can be this fast, we won't have so much backlog of matters and people are waiting trial for years. So kudos to the court for having this matter tried so quickly, and I will employ them to also look at those backlogs of cases that are lingering on and people are in jail awaiting a trial for years. So let's get onto the nitty-gritty of today's episode. Today's episode is technically a continuation of from last episode, in the sense that we're still talking about the FCT minister. And on this occasion, the FCT minister stated, or rather, before I go into what I'm analyzing, I just wanted to pay a huge respect to the FCT minister, Minister Wike. Why am I paying a huge respect to him? I remember when he was the governor of Rivers State, he normally grants audience to the media house to ask him questions, and he has continued that trend, which I've not seen any other person in political office done. He has been able to invite, this is the second episode where he has invited the media into his office and touched on a lot of issues, which I'm very, very impressed. Talked about the difficulties that he's facing and the fight against change. And I respect him for being so honest and so open as to what he's looking to achieve in office as the minister. But that doesn't mean that I agree with the way he's doing things. First of all, he's supposed to be an opposition party member. He's supposed to be holding this current administration into account for not performing what they promised. But then he's in bed with an opposition party. He will say that the way to hold the government to account is by working with them from within, but I disagree with that, because he is basically taking up the policies of the APC rather than be an opposition party and look to get elected at some point, or his party get elected and then bring it to fruition the policies of the PDP. Hopefully he might decide to decamp and join the APC or continue on this trend, but I respect him for standing up for what he believes, but I don't agree with what he believes. So let's carry on. He mentioned on this occasion that the land, according to the FCT Act, that all lands belongs to the minister, in the sense that it belongs to the federal government, and that local authority, local government areas don't have rights to allocate land. He referenced the Federal Capital Territory Act. I'm surprised that the journalists that are sat in front of him could not even probe these questions. What act are we talking about? What year? The Federal Capital Territory Act. act of what here? And what section gives the whole land within the Federal Capital Territory to the minister or to the federal government? And you know that he's working on a delegated power, which means the federal government, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, is the head of the FCT, and he has delegated these powers to Minister Wike to use to function or to carry out the office of the minister. The minister, in my strong opinion, is wrong to state that the land within Abuja is only granted by the federal government, because I have looked at the Federal Capital Territory Act. I'm talking about the Act of 1990. I don't know which of the act he's talking about. I couldn't find any other act apart from the 1976. And I've looked through the schedules and I cannot see where it states categorically that the land in Abuja is only reserved for the federal minister to allocate. There is a section that probably that's what he is talking about, but the interpretation, in my opinion, is wrong. If you look at section 7 of that act, it talked about development without authorities' approval prohibited. It is development, not acquisition, not acquiring. When we talk about certificate of occupancy, we are talking about acquisition, acquiring of land, which is allocated. So if the Federal Capital Territory Act does not have provisions giving the sole power to the minister to allocate land, what powers then does the minister has to allocate land? During his answering of questions, he mentioned that the Federal Capital Territory is treated differently to other states, that there are laws in Nigeria that provides that the Federal Capital Territory should be regarded as a state in terms of its behavior. So it means that the Federal Capital Territory's power, or the minister's power to allocate land, will then fall under the Land Use Act, because that's where the allocation of lands is provided for by state governor and local authority. There are two documents of the Land Use Act. There is the Land Use Act 1978 and there is the Land Use Act 1990. So the current one is the Land Use Act 1990. So at this point, I will strongly criticize our legislators. They are paid lavishly. They enjoy the best of the best provisions within the country. And they are very lazy and very inept. Why did I say so? If you look at the 1978 Land Use Act, which was written or enacted, let's use the word enacted, during the military era. So if you look at that document, it talks about military government and local government. And then you compare it to the 1990 Act. It is exactly 100% copy and paste. And then they just changed the word military government. Read through both documents. You will see how inept our legislators are. So basically, the 1990 Act is a 100% replica of the 1978 Act. And the 1978 Act came after the Federal Capital Territory Act 1976. So when the legislators were drafting the 1990 or copying and pasting the 1990, they failed woefully to allocate the power or to reserve the power of allocation of land in the Federal Capital Territory to the minister. Because they were so inept, they just copied and put in there everything that was in the 1978 Act, apart from the word military government or military, the word military. The same legislators lifted, copy and pasted this time around, the Federal Capital Territory Act 1990, because he copied it from the 1976 Act. So we elect legislators who are very good at copying and pasting. They copied and pasted the 1978 Act. Now they've copied and pasted the 1976 Act without even having the discretion to update these documents to conform with the 21st century affairs. So the Federal Capital Territory Act does not exclusively grant power of allocation to the minister. The minister is wrong to say that, unless he's talking about another Federal Capital Territory Act, which I'm not privy to. If he means the 1976 Act, basically referring to section 7, which has to do with the development without authorities' approval prohibited, that's not allocation. There is no way you can interpret that to mean allocation. And even if that development is replaced with allocation, then it is in conflict with the 1990 Act, because the minister, says that the Federal Capital Territory should be treated as a state territory because it has the same function as a state cabinet. So it means that the latest act overrides the previous act, if we have to interpret that. But that is not the case. The case is that the Federal Capital Territory Act does not have any provisions that allows only the minister to allocate lands. And then if you look at section 5 and 6 of the Land Use Act, that is where the powers are talked about, that the state governor, the powers of governors in relation to lands, and the powers of the powers of local government in relation to land. Local government authorities can allocate lands that are not in urban areas. Section 5 says that it shall be lawful for the governor in respect of land, whether or not in an urban area. So the governor can allocate land whether it is in or outside of urban area. While section 6 says that it shall be lawful for a local government in respect of land not in an urban area, so they can allocate land. So the minister is wrong to say that the local government cannot allocate land. Then when you talk about the right of occupancy and certificate of occupancy, when you read through the Land Use Act, you see that the document itself is confusing. You need the court to actually interpret the minds of the legislators, because I, for one, am legally qualified, but I don't understand what the Land Use Act is talking about. It interchanges the word right of occupancy and certificate of occupancy, which are two different rights, but it uses them interchangeably. So that is why I said our legislators that enacted this act of 1990, they are very, very lazy. Because I don't see the reason why they will copy and paste because of the word military. I understand that the word military, because we're not in the military regime, but that was an opportunity for you to update, for you to bring this legislation into the 21st century, but you failed woefully in this tax. You collect huge amount of salary. You have allocations. You don't have to do anything but to concentrate on the acts, on the laws, and you can't even do that. So I'm really disappointed, because they are the ones that have caused this confusion that we are all experiencing. But then I wouldn't fault the minister for the conclusion that he arrived at, because the laws are contradicting each other. If you look at all the laws, they make laws, they don't reference to the previous law to make sure that they are in conformity, or they work together. Rather, they make this law and you interpret it against the previous law, and you see that they don't look alike, they don't relate, they don't communicate. They are all standalone laws. And then the minister talked about the BVN and the name. I'm not sure if you can just wake up with an idea and then try to implement that idea. I know that within the NIM Act, he talked about, needing name for land transaction or thereabout. However, I don't know if it relates to you actually putting your name as a basis of security. He talked about two people answering the same name. Fair enough, but there are names with date of birth. Two people cannot have the same name and the same date of birth. Even if they have the same name, there are other features that you can use. We create something and then we try to use that thing until it wears off. I don't even know the reason why we have BVN and the name. One social security number is enough. Because all this data that you are accumulating, it is very dangerous to accumulate people's data, which the Western world is finding out, and they have the good protection of security over people's data. But Nigeria throws data around. Somebody picks up my phone, and the next thing is able to empty my bank account. So we have to be careful with what we do with people's data. Just assembling people's data, we need to be cautious of it. In as much as we are trying to fight insecurity, in as much as we are trying to protect the people or have a smooth government, we should also be careful of accumulating people's data, because your data is very essential. Yes, this is what I wanted to discuss today. I hope you have a bit of understanding of what I'm talking about. Otherwise, leave your comments. Provide any questions at the comment section down below, and probably we'll be able to explore further. I just wanted to keep it short and sweet today, because I didn't want to elongate or stress the production. I just wanted the production to be short. Basically, what we're talking about is that the Minister Wike is wrong to assert that it is only the FCT minister that can allocate land within Abuja, because of all that I've said before. If you want to understand it again, you can rewind and listen to it again, reflect it on the legislations that I have referred to, interesting legislation that I've referenced in this video. And I'm beginning to have a huge respect for Minister Wike because of his openness. That doesn't mean that I agree with what he is doing, but his personality, being open and inviting the media houses into his office to be candid, even though the media guys, they couldn't, ask good questions. They tried, but it wasn't tough enough. If you are saying that you have power to do things, you should be able to pinpoint where that power comes from. If you are saying that my power comes from this law, you should be able to give us the section of that law. You should be able to refer to the content of that section in order for us to have a better understanding. Otherwise, I can throw numbers or throw figures off the air, and you believe what I say. So I hope you've enjoyed it. As I have said earlier on, if you haven't subscribed to this channel, just hit that subscribe button. It doesn't take long. It's 2-3 seconds, you're subscribed. And please leave your comments down below. It is good to engage. I am not saying that I know it all, but with the little research that I have done, I can categorically say that with the legislations that I have referred to, I have been able to portray my point. If it is wrong, then you refer me to your source of evidence or your source of authority in order for us to expand this discussion. I will see you again next time. Have a lovely week and take care now. Bye-bye.